Apologies, good evening. Apologies for the late start to tonight's Scotland at 7 on Tuesday, the 11th of March. My name is Brian Liddy, and the first item is an update in the Middle East. At least 48,503 Palestinians have been killed and 111,927 injured in Gaza since the 7th of October 2025, according to the Gaza Health Authority. Syria's government has reached a deal with the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, or the SDF, that controls the northeast of the country to integrate the group into the National Army and achieve a nationwide ceasefire. The agreement will place the northeast under Syrian government control for the first time since the Kurdish-led authority gained autonomy of the region in 2012 during the civil war. The deal, which is to be carried out by the year's end, will place all public institutions in northeast Syria, including borders, airports and oil fields, under Syrian government control. A US envoy has said Hamas proposed a 5 to 10 year ceasefire and a full prisoner exchange during backroom talks that have provoked angry responses from the administration of Benjamin Netanyahu and his conservative backers in Israel and the US. Adam Bowler, the US Special Presidential Envoy for Hostage Affairs, told Can News, an Israeli public broadcaster, that he does believe Hamas would eventually lay down its weapons and leave power in Gaza. While he said the series of interviews was meant to explain the US position, he also defended the talks by saying that Washington is not an agent of Israel. Those remarks are said to have provoked behind-the-scenes fury from Netanyahu's strategic affairs advisor, Ron Dermer, as well as public anger from right-wingers in the government, including the ultranationalist finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich. Médecins Sans Frontières, or MSF, have said that the Israeli authorities must stop collective punishment of Palestinians. The MSF say it strongly condemns the Israeli-imposed siege on the Gaza Strip in Palestine, which is depriving people of basic services and critical supplies. It says that Israeli authorities have instrumentalized humanitarian needs by using it as a bargaining chip, such as cutting the electricity supply to the Strip on the 9th of March, thereby blocking access to water and preventing all aid from entering. This policy, which amounts to collective punishment, must be immediately stopped. MSF have called on Israeli authorities to respect international humanitarian law and uphold its responsibilities as an occupying power, and to end this inhumane blockade of the Strip. And now for today's Ukraine update. Russia launched airstrikes overnight on Kyiv, with air defence systems engaged in repelling the attack, Ukrainian authorities said late on Monday. Reuters said witnesses heard explosions in the capital and surrounding region that sounded like air defence systems in operation. Ukraine targeted Moscow early on Tuesday in possibly its largest ever drone attack on the Russian capital, reportedly killing at least one person. The attack sparked fires and forced the suspension of flights and train travel, authorities said. Russian forces are trying to cross the border and gain a foothold in Ukraine's Sumy province as they pressed ahead with a counter-offensive aiming to eliminate the last of Kyiv's positions in the Russian Kursk region. And senior US and Ukrainian officials have arrived in Saudi Arabia for high-stakes meetings aimed at repairing a severely damaged relationship that has left Kyiv without Washington's support. Ukraine's delegation, led by Volodymyr Zelensky's Chief of Staff, Andriy Yermak, will meet the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio and other senior White House officials on what is seen as neutral ground in the Saudi city of Jeddah. Zelensky has also flown to Jeddah in Saudi Arabia to meet Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman on the eve of separate high-stake meetings between Ukrainian and US officials. The Ukrainian delegation will propose a ceasefire covering the Black Sea and long-range missile strikes, as well as the release of prisoners, two senior Ukrainian officials told the Associated Press. The Ukrainian delegation says it is ready during the talks to sign an agreement with the United States on access to Ukraine's rare earth minerals, a deal that US President Trump is keen to secure. President Zelensky said that Kyiv's position in Tuesday's talks in Saudi Arabia with US officials will be fully constructive and that he hopes for practical outcomes from the negotiations on ending the war. Zelensky said that a significant part of his talks was dedicated to the issue of security guarantees for Ukraine. A Democratic US Senator who visited Ukraine recently said the Trump administration's suspension of intelligence sharing had lessened Kyiv's defences against Russia and dismissed Trump's advisor Elon Musk, calling him a traitor. 100%, Senator Mark Kelly told reporters when asked if he had heard during his visit of specific attacks or incidents that would have been affected if Ukrainians had had the intelligence. If there's stuff they don't get that they need that changes their ability to defend against attacks, Kelly said, and those attacks happened on Friday night, on Saturday, when I was there, the Arizona senator did not provide further details. Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, plans a visit to Moscow to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin, according to reports. Witkoff, who is officially Trump's Middle East envoy, has played a growing role in efforts to bring about an end to the Ukraine war. A luxurious super yacht that belonged to Russian billionaire Suleiman Kerimov may be headed to the auction block after a US judge on Monday dismissed a competing claim to ownership of the $300 million vessel. President Donald Trump has escalated the trade war with Canada by announcing a 50% tariff on Canadian steel and aluminium in response to a 25% surcharge imposed by Ontario on electricity exports to the US. The new tariffs, set to take effect on the 12th of March, are a retaliation for Ontario's decision to impose additional costs on electricity exports, which Trump claims negatively affects US consumers. The move follows a series of unpredictable actions in the trade policy of the Trump administration, sparking concerns of an economic slowdown. Since Trump's announcement, there has been widespread anxiety over the economic impact, particularly on the US stock market. On the 10th of March, the Nasdaq experienced its worst performance since September 2022, losing 4% of its value. The following day, both the Dow and the S&P 500 also saw significant declines, which were exacerbated by Trump's rhetoric regarding the potential for a recession. The president's refusal to rule out a downturn, combined with his trade policies, has contributed to growing uncertainty in the global markets. In Canada, officials have expressed their intention to resist Trump's tariffs, with Ontario's premier stating that Canada will not back down. He called for US CEOs to challenge the president over the potential economic chaos caused by the tariffs. Trump's actions have already triggered a decline in both business and consumer confidence, with surveys showing a sharp drop in confidence among CEOs and consumers alike. Despite these developments, Trump's focus remained on his social media posts, where he promoted messages praising his policies and targeting critics. Even as markets continue to decline, he posted extensively on social media, diverting attention from the immediate economic concerns surrounding his actions. The impositions of these tariffs and the escalating trade conflict are seen as part of broader concerns about the long-term effects of Trump's economic policies, both within the US and internationally. Experts warned that such actions may deepen the economic uncertainty and contribute to a potential global downturn. A criminal investigation has been launched into a ship collision in the North Sea, with one man arrested on suspicion of gross negligence manslaughter after a sailor went missing. The incident occurred on Monday morning when the German-owned Solong cargo ship struck the stationary Stena Immaculate, which was carrying 220,000 barrels of jet fuel. The collision, caused a leak of the jet fuel into the North Sea, while the Solong drifted ablaze off the coast of Yorkshire. The search for the missing crew member was called off on Tuesday, and a 59-year-old man was arrested in connection with the collision. The Marine Accident Investigation Branch initially led the inquiry, but it was escalated to a criminal investigation by Humberside Police following their early inquiries. The fire on the Solong, which was drifting southwards past the coast of Grimsby, was being monitored by tugboats to prevent it from reaching land. The environmental concerns have grown due to the jet fuel spill, with experts warning of the potential damage to marine life. Although the Solong was not carrying hazardous sodium cyanide, the jet fuel, known as Jet A1, is highly toxic and could have devastating effects on local wildlife. Population control vessels from Germany and Norway arrived to assess the situation and contain any toxins. Local leaders have expressed concern over the potential environmental disaster, calling for urgent government action to mitigate the effects. The area is known for its biological, cultural and economic significance. Investigators will be questioning the 36 crew members rescued from the two ships to understand what led to the crash. Humberside Police have taken control of the criminal investigation and are continuing to speak with all those involved. The arrested man remains in custody while inquiries continue. The financial cost of the damage to the ships and potential environmental cleanup is expected to be in the tens of millions of pounds. Sir Keir Starmer faces growing pressure to fulfil his promise of cutting UK energy bills by £300, with millions of households facing rising costs from April, a report warns. Research by Energy UK indicates that while the government's plan to transition to clean power by 2030 may lower energy bills in the long term, the benefits will not be realised in time to meet the promised £300 cut. The average gas and electricity bill for a typical household in Great Britain is set to rise by £111 from April, reaching £1,849 under the Ofgem price cap. This follows a period of increased demand and limited renewable energy, pushing gas prices higher. Energy UK has urged the UK government to take immediate action to reduce household energy costs. The report recommends that households adopt more flexible energy use, such as using appliances during off-peak times or when there is excess wind or solar energy. It also highlights that reducing dependence on imported gas is key to stabilising prices in the long term. Despite these measures, the report acknowledges that the financial impact on consumers will remain significant, with customer debt standing at nearly £4 billion. In response, Starmer reiterated his commitment to the £300 cut, but has yet to outline a clear plan on how to achieve it. The report suggests that the most effective way to reduce bills would be to move policy costs from electricity to gas, potentially saving up to £400 a year for homes with electric heating. Meanwhile, the UK government has announced an energy-saving initiative for low-income households, with £1.8 billion in funding allocated to support measures such as insulation, double glazing and heat pumps. However, Energy UK warns that more funding is required to meet clean power targets and reduce bills for consumers. In Scotland, Social Justice Secretary Shirley-Anne Somerville has called on the UK government to honour its pre-election pledge to lower bills for all households. The UK COVID-19 inquiry has heard that former Minister Michael Gove sought to bypass the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, or the MHRA, to fast-track James Dyson's ventilator proposal during the pandemic. Testimony from the inquiry revealed that Gove, as Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, pressured the MHRA to approve Dyson's ventilator design despite concerns over safety and unrealistic timelines. Emails shown in the inquiry indicated that Gove wanted the product tested and approved quickly, with a clear directive to have a small number of units ready for human testing and manufacturing within days. However, Gove denied trying to influence the MHRA's approval process, claiming it was absurd to think that ministers could direct the agency. He acknowledged having more involvement with Dyson's proposal compared to other applicants, but maintained he could not tell the MHRA what to approve. The inquiry also heard concerns from Senior Cabinet Office Civil Servant John Manzoni, who intervened during a meeting with Gove, Dyson and other officials. Manzoni stated that he felt pressure was being placed on the MHRA to approve the ventilator design and took action to protect the integrity of the regulatory process. Gareth Rhys-Williams, then Chief Commercial Officer at the Cabinet Office, also expressed concern about Gove's approach, describing his tone as regrettable and stating that the Dyson ventilator sample was not yet ready for testing. Dyson's involvement stemmed from a personal request by Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who urged the company to develop a medical-grade ventilator in 30 days. A spokesperson for Dyson clarified that the company did not profit from the venture and incurred significant costs while diverting engineers away from commercial projects. The inquiry further raised concerns about the preferential treatment given to Dyson's bid, particularly after warnings from a Treasury Minister about potential international marketing advantages linked to the order. Despite these issues, no Dyson ventilators were ultimately used in the UK and the order was cancelled. Former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte has been flown to The Hague after being served with an arrest warrant by the International Criminal Court, or the ICC, for his involvement in the deadly war on drugs campaign. The transfer took place after Duterte was arrested at Manila's airport following his return from Hong Kong. He faces charges of crimes against humanity due to the killings linked to his anti-drug crackdown, which allegedly resulted in the deaths of up to 30,000 people, mostly from poor urban areas. Duterte's actions have sparked outrage among human rights groups who argue that many of these killings were extrajudicial. The arrest followed an official request from the ICC, despite Duterte's claims that the Philippines' 2019 withdrawal from the Rome Statute should nullify the court's jurisdiction. The ICC has countered that it retains jurisdiction over crimes committed before the country's exit from the treaty. Duterte's supporters have contested the legality of the arrest, with some claiming it is politically motivated, while others argue that the ICC has no authority over the matter. In Manila, Duterte was briefly detained before being flown to The Hague, where the ICC is based. During the arrest, Duterte reportedly resisted, stating that he would not be subject to foreign intervention in his country. However, his objections did not prevent the handover, which was carried out in compliance with international law. Duterte's controversial drug war, which he championed during his presidency from 2016 to 2022, has been widely condemned internationally. Estimates suggest that between 12,000 and 30,000 civilians were killed under his directive, with many human rights organisations accusing the police of planting evidence and fabricating reports to justify the killings. Despite international outrage, Duterte remained popular in the Philippines, defending his actions as necessary to combat the drug trade. The ICC investigation covers alleged crimes committed from November 2011 to June 2016, including extrajudicial killings that occurred during Duterte's time as mayor of Davao City and as president. Social Justice Secretary Charleanne Somerville has urged the UK government to honour its promise of reducing energy bills by £300 for households in Scotland. following a rise in the energy price cap to £1,849. Ahead of leading a debate in the Scottish Parliament, Somerville called on MSPs to unite in demanding that the UK government fulfil its pre-election pledge to lower energy bills. She highlighted that despite promises, energy costs continue to increase, adding to the financial burden on Scottish families already struggling with the cost of living crisis. In response to rising energy prices, the Scottish Government is taking measures to support households, including universal winter fuel payments for pensioners and expanding crisis intervention services. Somerville also announced that the Scottish Government will invest £2.2 million in the WISE Group, which is a programme designed to provide comprehensive support to low-income families in 6 local authority areas. This funding from the Tackling Child Poverty Fund will enable the WISE Group to continue assisting individuals and families with finding work, improving financial stability and addressing mental health and well-being issues. The WISE Group has already supported 3,200 households, helping people to access employment, training and other resources that contribute to long-term financial stability. The programme also offers additional support with challenges such as childcare, further education and managing living costs. Somerville also pointed to the Scottish Government's broader efforts to tackle child poverty, with more than £3 billion allocated in this year's budget to address poverty and the rising cost of living. However, she noted that UK government policies, such as the 2-child cap, undermine these efforts by restricting access to financial support for families with more than 2 children. She confirmed that the Scottish Government plans to address this issue by developing systems to mitigate the impact of the 2-child cap by 2026. According to the Child Poverty Action Group, this move could lift 15,000 children out of poverty in Scotland. Social Security Scotland has started transferring 169,000 attendance allowance awards to the new pension age disability payment, a process set to be completed by the end of 2025. Transfer, which affects individuals receiving attendance allowance from the Department of Work and Pensions, will occur automatically in phases throughout 2025. Those affected do not need to take any action, as payments will continue to be made on time and in the correct amounts. Social Security Scotland will notify recipients by letter when their transfer is complete, which is expected to take up to 3 months. During the transition, recipients should continue to report any changes in their personal circumstances to the Department for Work and Pensions until they receive confirmation from Social Security Scotland that their transfer is finalised. There will be no interruptions in payments during the process. Pension age disability payment is being phased in across Scotland and is available for individuals of state pension age who have care needs due to a disability, long-term health condition or terminal illness. The new payment is not means tested, meaning people can still apply if they are working or have savings. Currently, pension age disability payment is open to new applications in several areas, including Aberdeen City, Argyll and Bute, Highland, Orkney and Shetland. More areas will become eligible starting from the 24th of March 2025, with the payment rolling out across all of Scotland by the 22nd of April 2025. Social Security Scotland aims to complete the full transfer by the end of 2025. This shift is part of the Scottish Government's ongoing efforts to ensure that older people with care needs receive the financial support they are entitled to. The new payment is designed to replace attendance allowance, offering continued support for those with care needs across the country. New regulations proposed in the Scottish Parliament could offer families quicker access to free school meals by allowing Social Security Scotland to share Scottish child payment data with local authorities. If approved by MSPs, The new regulations will enable local authorities to identify eligible pupils more efficiently, ensuring they receive free school meals. The next phase of the programme, set to begin in 8 local authority areas, will extend free school meals to all pupils in primary 6 and 7, as well as to S1 to S3 who receive the Scottish Child Payment. Currently, over 273,000 pupils across Scotland benefit from free school meals, saving families approximately £400 per child per year. The proposed changes will increase this number by an additional 25,000 pupils. By streamlining the data sharing process, local authorities will be able to quickly verify eligibility, reducing administrative burdens and improving access for families. The expansion of the free school meal programme aligns with the Scottish Government's efforts to tackle child poverty. Education Secretary Jenny Gilruth emphasised that the changes aim to make it easier for families to access support, which is seen as a crucial step in the Government's goal of eradicating child poverty. If the regulations pass in Parliament in April, they will help to ensure that more families benefit from the provision, reducing financial strain on households dealing with rising costs. SNP MSP Jackie Dunbar also highlighted the importance of free school meals in ensuring all children have an equal opportunity to learn, further supporting the Government's child poverty reduction initiatives. The Scottish Government has committed to expanding support for families, as evidenced by the increase in education spending announced in the recent Scottish budget. The proposed regulations aim to ensure that every child in need can access the meals they need to thrive at school. The Scottish Land Commission and the Cairngorms National Park Authority have appointed Annabel Davidson-Knight as Scotland's first Community Benefits from Nature Advisor. This new role aims to ensure communities benefit from nature restoration and natural capital projects. Annabel Davidson-Knight will split her time between the Scottish Land Commission and the Cairngorms National Park Authority. The position is focused on embedding social and economic benefits into land use changes as part of Scotland's response to climate change and biodiversity loss. By working across both organisations, Annabel will help ensure that nature restoration projects deliver tangible benefits to local communities. Her appointment supports the Cairngorms 2030 programme, which includes 20 long-term projects aimed at transforming the Cairngorms National Park. The programme, funded by the National Lottery Heritage Fund, focuses on improving health, well-being and nature across the region. These projects are also aligned with Scotland's broader climate and biodiversity goals. The role also builds on the Scottish Land Commission's recent guidance on community benefits from land, looking for new ways to involve communities in nature-based projects. It will contribute to the Natural Capital Partnership project, with Community Land Scotland aiming to develop best practices for integrating community benefits into natural capital investment. With a background in third sector organisations, Annabel brings experience in community-led projects and conservation. She has worked on initiatives addressing climate change and biodiversity loss, focusing on rural development that is both inclusive and equitable. Her expertise will be crucial in ensuring that local communities see lasting benefits from Scotland's growing investment in nature restoration. Scottish Land Commission's ongoing efforts to promote fair and sustainable land ownership continued to be a central focus. Through this new role, Annabel Davidson-Knight will help drive forward the integration of community benefits into nature restoration and land use, ensuring Scotland's investment in natural capital delivers positive, lasting outcomes for communities. Well, that's it for this evening's Scotland at 7, but before we go, I just want to remind you that here at Broadcasting Scotland, we still depend on your generosity. To everyone who has donated and to everyone who has signed up to make a regular monthly payment, we thank you very much. We were £16,000 short of our funding requirements last year, which has left us short of the money we need to pay our bills. We face costs of around £4,000 every month, but we gratefully receive donations of around 2,500. We have raised over £7,000 this year so far, but we still urgently need to raise at least £5,000 to pay our bills now. Our programmes will, always be free to view. However, if you can afford £5 a month, please do consider becoming a Broadcasting Scotland supporter, or please just donate whatever you can afford. But that's it from us, so goodbye and thank you for watching.